There's a lot going on behind the scenes you may not be aware of, beyond just what the media is showing you. And once you become aware of it, you start to take your power back and you stop feeding the old paradigms. That's why in this video we're going to peel back the curtain of what is called the Great Awakening, something that has already begun, and I'm going to show you exactly what to know. Welcome back to another video. My name's Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you more on what is called the Great Awakening. The Great Awakening is something that I believe we have all waited our whole entire lives for up until this point. In a way, of course, we're meant to have a human experience, but up until this point, there's been a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and the Great Awakening is about an increase of vibration, an increase of light, more and more people becoming aware on the planet. And as more and more people become aware, we as a people begin to take our power back. Now the way that it's been, and let me say this as well, do your own research on this. Don't just believe me because I'm some guy on YouTube. Do your own research and you'll learn more and more about this and you'll see what really resonates with you. You know, there's a lot of this that I've looked through, that I've looked at, and some of it resonates, some of it doesn't, but you kind of learn what to take with you as you go. That's what I recommend you do as well. Let me also say I'm not an expert at this information. I'm just someone that's passionate about knowing the truth, or what I believe to be the truth, and I've gone quite in detail to some of these things. So that's what I wanted to start off by saying as well. So first off, as the light increases on the planet, and the way that it's worked for many, many years, maybe even thousands of years, is there's an elite group of people that have wanted to retain the resources. So the idea is that if you keep people, this right here is called the scale of consciousness. You can kind of see it at the bottom of it. It's from the book called Power vs. Force. And it's just called the levels of consciousness. You've got shame, fear, anger, then eventually at 250 you have neutrality, then acceptance, willingness, reasoning, then love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. Everything calibrates at a certain vibration. Now what happens is if you keep people in anger and fear, they're much easier to control. Plus, they're much more likely to look to authority for security. So one thing that's been going on behind the scenes for a very long time is these people knew that. So the idea was, hey, let's put 99.9% of everything that ever comes out on the media, let's have it be completely negative and put people in a fear mode. And that's what's happened for, like, think about it. Have you ever seen anything on the news that's positive? Maybe one or two things possibly, but other than that, it's completely negative and it's completely fear-based. Well, there's a reason behind that. Because there's people that know, like I said, do your own research with this, but there are people that know this. When I went through my awakening in 2012, I went down the rabbit hole of learning some of this information. It's honestly a little bit dark. So after like a month or two of studying it, I stopped studying it as much because I was like, my purpose is to do other things, and I felt like it was weighing down my energy. But you begin to ask questions. Why is reality the way it is? Why did I stumble across awakening? And these are things that then made me question a lot more. But basically what I came to understand is that there are people that do know this, and what happens is they figured out that if you control the narrative, if you control the story that people hear about reality and the way it is, and you keep people in a fear survival mode, they're easier able to control, and then these people can retain the resources to keep people in that dumbed down state. That's what's been happening for a long time. Like I said, do your own research with this. I know this stuff to some people, you know, I've known about it for a while, so it's kind of natural for me to hear, but for some people it may be a little bit more out there. Now, I watched something last night called Out of the Shadows. It's this new YouTube, it's on YouTube, it's a documentary. I'll actually link it below. It's called Out of the Shadows. Now, let me kind of put this little caveat here. It is a little bit darker to watch. What I mean by darker is it's not necessarily a movie that's going to raise your vibration, it'll make you more aware. However, like when I study this stuff, I do it in small doses. That's just my personal preference, because if you go too far into it all at once, you may find that it dampens your vibe a little bit, because some of the stuff going on behind the scenes is a little bit dark. But basically what that documentary is, it's like an hour and 20 minutes long. What it shows is it shows how the CIA has infiltrated Hollywood and how that's had then a control over the story and the narrative of the movies and the media that we consume, and how that affects our consciousness, how that keeps us in this fear, anger, in this kind of box. And it goes pretty deep. But let's even look at the word Hollywood. Hollywood, the word Hollywood, holly, there's a holly plant. And I forget the name of the exact plant. Maybe it's called the holly plant. But what this plant is it was used in ancient times. And what they would do is they would use it to brew up spells to control the masses. So right in front of our face, there's a lot of times these little symbols are there, and we don't even know it. But behind the scenes, that's exactly what's happening. When we talk about Hollywood, there's a plant that's based in, that has to do ancient times with casting spells along the collective. And that's what's happening with these movies and these different things. Now, look, the CIA has had connections, and in that documentary, Out of the Shadows, it shows how the CIA has had connections for a long time. Now think about this. It's kind of interesting. I thought this was funny. The CIA people that have had connections to Hollywood, they're like, let's make CIA people look cool so they can feel cool about themselves. So what they did is they came out with a series of James Bond. They kind of influenced the whole James Bond series to come out, so that when you think of the CIA, you think of these cool people going behind the scenes, infiltrating different countries, saving the planet, and all this cool stuff, right? That's kind of like, that was intended because it's like let's make our job look cool. So that then also we have a positive connotation with the CIA. We don't want to question the CIA. You want to question James Bond? He's so cool. You see, that's the idea. So the CIA has an infiltration. If you look at all the media, you look at Disney, you look at Marvel, you look at all the 6 major corporations. 6 major corporations own all the media. And what if that media, what if there was a certain intention there for people to be and have a certain narrative, a certain story about the way reality works? If you look at Disney movies, I grew up watching Disney movies, especially in the 90s. There were a lot of movies that came out that have a lot of very edgy symbolism in it. And you might know what I mean by that. It had a lot of symbolism in it, and one of the reasons is it influences the subconscious mind, and there's different intentions there. And in that movie, Out of the Shadows, it talks a lot about this. It talks a lot about the CIA, how they infiltrated Hollywood. It was directed, or the guy that starred in it used to be a Hollywood stuntman, and he would notice things at different parties and stuff like that, and he started to piece these things together. But just to also base it, there's dark things going on with some of the people that that control Hollywood. And what these people do is they have a connection to very dark, kind of like dark magic in a way. They do very dark things within the collective consciousness that's kind of unimaginable, to be honest. And they do it, and it keeps the vibration in a lower state of consciousness. However, they're starting to get outweighed. Okay, that's something that's happening right now. We had over a million people all around the world doing a global meditation on April 4th, and that made the Schumann resonance, which is the frequency of the earth, go up an astounding, unprecedented amount. And if we were to keep doing that, we're counterbalancing this dark kind of magic in a way. Now, this is also some things I just kind of want to point to you. Now, like I said, I'm not an expert at all this. I'm just looking at some of the pieces, and I realized that I kind of have an intention. And if this video resonates with you, or some of these things, maybe you share this video with other people. Also subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be doing a whole series on the Great Awakening. And but do your own research, like I said. Here's a couple other things I want to show you. With everything going on, all the fear that's being projected out into the world, what if a lot of this is just smoke and mirrors? Okay, not saying that what's going around right now isn't a real thing and isn't harmful. I'm not saying that it's not. But what if it is exaggerated to a certain point? There are doctors that have said that when it comes to the deaths of what is happening right now, I'm not going to say the word, because if I do, then this video won't get shared as much. Or, yeah. There's a whole other thing that goes on with that, with Hollywood and some of the way that certain things are controlled. However, doctors and deaths, there are those doctors that have come forward and said that they received mail and letters that said if somebody passes away that is over a certain amount of age, and that person was around anybody else that was younger, that automatically declare that person as having that thing that's going around that everyone's in quarantine for. Think about that. So could it be that the numbers are going up because there is a increase of people that are just doing what they're told and deeming them as most likely having that thing. There's some doctors that are rebelling against that, saying, I will not say that, because it's not true. There are people, family members, I was talking to someone else today that had, that knows someone that had somebody that was like a younger kid that actually passed away, that they deemed as that, when the family was saying that that wasn't the case at all. So what if it's kind of like being exaggerated in certain ways, some of the things happening? Now, why would that be? Let's look at another one. There was a guy that broke into a hospital. Get this, they say in certain places in certain areas where there's just huge, all this stuff going on, the hospitals are completely packed. So many people because of this huge thing happening. And what happened is this guy breaks into a hospital that is completely empty. And he ends up getting arrested for it. But he's on social media running through these halls of this empty hospital. Could it be that they've only kept certain hospitals open so that it looks more packed than it is, so that when you have the news in there, it looks crazy busy, like there's way more going on than there is? I don't know. Like I said, do your own research. I'm looking at some of the pieces here. There's already media companies. Remember, media, 6 major corporations own the media. There's media companies that have already been caught taking Italian footage, meaning footage in Italy of people in these hospitals, and using it in American media, passing it off as if it's in the United States. They've already been caught doing that. Why would they do something like that? Could it be that they want things to look way worse than they are? You see, there's different levels of things happening here. Now, when it comes to these elite people that are actually losing their power right now, I do believe that. These elite people that have controlled the narrative for a long time, they're completely losing their power. When we do these meditations, we're literally imagining us as the people having our power back. You know, we become so used to certain things. We just agree, oh, I'll pay 40% of my taxes towards the government because it goes towards the roads and all that cool stuff, right? Not knowing that that money may be used for way different things. But you want to know how it works? Problem, solution, and then we're open to certain things. So imagine that there's people that say, well, what could we do? What could we do to get people to believe that they need to pay like 40%, 30%, 20% of their taxes to us? What could we do for that? Well, if we were to have some type of war going on, and they wanted to be safe, and they were in fear, then they'd probably be open to paying a big chunk of their money to being safe and to feeling that. So then that happened back in the 60s or whenever that happened, and guess what? We just now assume it's a part of our natural reality to be paying 30, 40, 20% of our money towards taxes. When maybe that money goes towards things we don't even know. I'm not saying it, just do your own research. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell you what to believe, but what if, let's just say, what if there was people, there's a solution to this as well. There's a positive, I'm gonna get there, but I'm just trying to open up a little bit more than maybe is being shown. When it comes to this problem, solution, open thing. Now what if there were a lead amount of people that said, you know what? What if we wanted people to be open to getting vaccinations? And what if in these vaccinations we put some stuff in it? It's not good at all, but it would keep people in a box. We'd have a little bit more control over certain things. What if there's nanite technology in it or something like that we connected to 5G or something like that, and then it kept people in a certain frequency, or we had more control? Well, we need people to want that. People aren't just gonna do that, right? Well, what if we had something that we unleashed out into the public, and then what happened is it put people into a very fearful state, and then they were afraid of other people, so then they were demanded that you had to be inside a house and not leave ever. And then if you wanted to travel or something, or then they'd just be completely open to taking it because they would want safety. And they would shame other people if they didn't take it, because then it's like, what about their safety? Well, what if we were to have the problem and then give them that solution and they'd be open to it? You see, this is the kind of things that are orchestrated behind the scenes. There's technology that's been suppressed for a very long time. There are solutions, I believe, to different things that just aren't brought out, because then it could fuel a certain agenda. So you see, like I say, do your own research and look into this. Now, what is the positive benefit of this, of everything I'm sharing? The reason all of this stuff is going on right now is because the light on the planet is raising so much that these are like the last cards up their sleeve that they have. in order to try to control and to keep the vibration in a certain frequency. And guess what? It's not going to work. Too many people are waking up right now. People are questioning their reality. People are at home right now. Maybe they're at home, they're starting to question things. And as time goes on, more and more people will question. And I think that there's this avalanche of awakening happening right now. And it's going to be harder and harder to stay asleep. So when I make this video, it's to plant some seeds. And if you have friends and family, this video may help. So maybe share this video, because what it can do is it can start planting the seeds a little bit more. Now the positive side of this is the best thing we can possibly do is to raise our own vibration. To raise our own vibration. Now what does that mean? It means doing our own shadow work, becoming aware of different emotions that we may feel, and then letting them go. If you allow yourself to feel the fear, and then you let it be there, the paradox is that then many times that fear begins to dissipate. And remember, the fear, you have to first off believe something to be true to feel that fear. The reason I don't feel fear with everything going on is because I'm able to see kind of all of this, and I know that it's being projected, and that's the perspective that's wanted, that's the agenda. So then I choose not to feel it. It's a choice, but it's because of my belief, what I believe to be true. So become aware of where that's stemming from, and anything you focus on, you feel. So if you're focusing on the fear and the media and all that stuff, then you'll find that you feel more of that fear and all of that emotion that's being transmitted through. But the best way you can raise your vibration is by first off learning to observe your thoughts. Observe things that are happening right now. That's the level of neutrality. That's when you let go of the negative energy. And then the other thing you can work on is something like forgiveness, forgiving yourself, forgiving other people, going within and doing your own work in that way. And then doing more of that inner work in general. Putting the scope within. If you expand this scope out a little bit more, what you'll find is that we're all one consciousness. We all agreed to this kind of thing that's happening in the world right now as a way for us to take our power back. So we had certain key players playing certain dark roles so that we could learn this. We're all eternal spiritual beings having temporary human experiences. But like I said, do your own research. Go within, find out what resonates with you. If you like this video, if you want me to do more, comment below, like this video, share it with other people, plant those seeds, because this is a time of the Great Awakening. A lot of people don't know what's going on right now, and the more we know, the more we're able to go within ourselves, be aware, and not react to things that's smoke and mirrors. So with that being said, I'll see you on the next video. As always, peace, much love, and namaste.